To better explain margins, which I defined as the spacing between two containers of elements, so we are going to do the following. Let's create a parent container. So just copy out this code, cut it out rather. Let's create a parent div container, give it the ID parent, then paste this in here. Then we can also copy, let's just copy this. Now say container 3, container 4, and 5. Oh, sorry, it's supposed to be 4, 5, and 6. Let's save this. Now we'll go to our CSS file. Let's create formatting for the parent container. So let's call this parent. Set the border for him. Say border 5 pixels so I can see it. Solid red. Then we can copy the styling for the first group of elements. Okay, the next thing we're going to introduce is the float property. So what this does is it aligns whatever is assigned to it to a particular position. So we can either float something to the left or to the right. So let's float this to the left. So we'll do the same thing here too. Assign the float property, assign it to left. Let's save this and see how it looks. We've saved it. Open our browser. Here's what we have. It's not working as expected, is it? So I rectified what the problem is. Let me put things the way they were. So previously we had the two containers, container 1 and container 4. They weren't placed in the right way. So what I did was to reposition the div inside the parent container. So notice that when I click this div, it shows me the closing tag. So for the first container, we have the first container element here, and for the second group of containers, we have this. So that's about it. So just save this. Our CSS is fine. You can ignore this. Save. Let's see how it looks. Sorry. Your CSS add the display property. So when you set this to display inline table, it aligns everything on a row. It aligns all the child elements in the same line in a tabular form. So that's what the display property does. So align elements on the same row in a tabular form. We assign for the first container, which is this, we want it to float to left so that the position will be assigned, will move to the left. Now every other element that is close to an element that has the float property set to left will flow around it. We discussed this in the last lecture. So the values that float can have is left, right, none, inline start, and inline end. You can try all these options out and see how it works. So the two new things we can introduce here is display property and the float property. The display property can either be block, it can either be inline, it can either be box. There's so many of them. You can go online and check this out. Try out all other options for yourself and see how this works. Let's save this file and refresh our page. So this is what we have here. Remember, you can also specify the width of each box. So let's say we want the width of our box to be 50% of the entire size. First, let's remove the margin. For this, remove margin here. Sorry, this width we have to specify it for the parent container. Parent container here is 1. So we say here. Then let's remove the margin here so that we can understand how margins work. In this container, let's remove the width. Let's specify the width here to a specific value, 50%. So what this means is when you set the value of a width to a particular percentage, it takes up 50% of the containing element. So whatever space the containing element has, it takes up 50% of it. So that's about that. I just want to eliminate everything that has to do with margin for now so we can see how it works. This should be all. We don't have margin right now. So for container 1 and container 4, we have specified the width to be 50. Let's save this and see how it looks. So you can see how this looks. not nice, right? So let's specify the margins now. We can also reduce the percentage of the width. So we're restoring things to how they were. So let's reduce the percentage to 30%, no, not here. So we can see that each of the container, the smaller containers here, take up 30% of the entire width. But what the browser does is it adds the value of the margin that we have set to the entire width. So there's a margin between this element and this element. So what the margin does is to set the distance between this container and the next. We can adjust the margin. Let's say we put a margin of 10 pixels here and 10 pixels here. Save. See that the space surrounding the first element has been reduced. There's a space here and it has been reduced. Let's go back to our code. I have margin here to be 10. Sorry, this is supposed to be 30. Use this to 10. Let's save. The space between this element and this element has been reduced. We can totally eliminate the margins to 0 pixels. Let's just put 1 pixel there for container 1 and for container 4. Save your file, open your browser, and see that each time we reduce the margin, the space between this container and any other container reduces. You can watch this video again to get a clearer understanding. Whenever you reduce the value of a margin, the size of the container reduces. So you see that the spacing around this container and this container has reduced. So this is where I'll be stopping for this lecture. In the next lecture, we'll be discussing CSS styles and how to use them. See you in the next lecture.